All right, let's get right into it. This week, we are cracking open a confidential cyber threat report, and we're going to break down the absolutely essential intelligence that you need to be aware of. We are pulling back the curtain on the digital front lines. And this isn't just theory, okay? We're looking at the very latest vulnerabilities, the newest tools attackers are using, and the real-world threats that security pros are fighting against right now. So first up, let's look at the big ones. These are the critical vulnerabilities that had security teams absolutely scrambling this week. These are the high alerts, the ones that demand immediate attention. And first on the list is a doozy. It's a critical flaw found in the very equipment that's supposed to protect our networks, Fortinet's FortiSIEM security information and event management tool. So just how critical are we talking? Well, the industry standard for measuring this stuff, the CVEs score, gives it a staggering 9.4 out of 10. I mean, that's almost a perfect 10, putting it squarely in the drop everything you were doing and fix this now category.
So how does this thing actually work? It's a classic case of what we call an OS command injection vulnerability. The best way to think about it is like this. Imagine you're telling a computer's operator what to do, but you sneakily phrase your request so they accidentally run a secret malicious command you've hidden inside. The system thinks it's just a normal instruction, but really, it's handing over the keys to an attacker. Now, here's what's really alarming. An unauthenticated attacker, we're talking someone who doesn't even need a username or password, can run their own code on the system. And the real kicker, a proof of concept, which is basically a step-by-step recipe on how to pull this off, is already out there, public, on GitHub. The fix is simple. Upgrade immediately, and as a good backup, make sure you limit access to port 7900. But look, the threats aren't just limited to our traditional network hardware anymore. Oh no. Even the most cutting-edge tools that developers use every day, like AI-powered code editors, are now right in the crosshairs. This next vulnerability we're going to talk about, found in the Cursor AI code editor, clocks in at a 7.2 out of 10. Now, while that's not quite the house on fire 9.4 we just saw, a 7.2 is still a high severity rating and definitely a major cause for concern. And this one shows a fascinating new way attackers are thinking. They're using something called prompt injection. You can think of it like digital hypnotism for an AI, to trick the code editor into bypassing its own security rules. If they pull it off, they could run any command they want on a developer's machine. The fix, thankfully, is pretty straightforward. Just upgrade to the latest version. You know, vulnerabilities like the ones we've just seen really highlight this constant back and forth, what everyone in the industry calls the digital arms race. On one side, you've got the red team. These are the ethical hackers and, of course, the actual bad guys, always poking and prodding, trying to find a new way in. And on the other side, you've got the blue team, the defenders, working around the clock to patch those holes and fight off the attacks. So with that in mind, let's take a little peek inside the attacker's toolkit, shall we? What kind of weapons are the red teams actually using in this digital arms race? Well, this week's report highlights two particularly nasty ones. First, there's a tool called Freeze. Think of this thing as a stealth bomber. It's designed to create malicious payloads that are basically invisible to the security software that's supposed to detect them. And then you've got PowerZoor, which is a whole toolkit built specifically to go after Microsoft's Azure cloud. This is a huge deal and a pretty stark reminder that just moving to the cloud doesn't automatically mean you're safe. But this isn't just theoretical stuff that security researchers are playing with in a lab. These same concepts are being used in active attacks, right now out in the wild. So researchers found this piece of malware they're calling PLUGGYAPE, and it's a fascinating example of just brutally effective, simple design. Here's how it works. First, it gets on a machine and quietly calls home to a remote server. But here's the really clever part. Instead of having that server's address hard-coded where it could be found, it actually goes out to public websites like Pastebin to get its instructions. And from there, it's pretty much game over. It just sits there and executes whatever commands its operators send its way. Okay, so we've seen the attacks and the attacker's tools. It can feel a little daunting, I know, but the blue team isn't just sitting around waiting to get hit. So let's switch gears and look at the defender's arsenal, the tools they're using to fight back. On the defensive side, we have some equally powerful tools. ProKZ is like having a super-powered security camera for all your network traffic. It lets defenders see everything coming in and out, and it even uses AI to spot suspicious activity. You know, perfect for catching something like PLUGGYAPE calling home. Then you have something like Chameleon, a firewall that lets you lock down your system's connections with incredible precision, stopping malicious traffic before it ever gets a foothold. So, after seeing the vulnerabilities, the attack tools, and the defenses,
What's the big takeaway here? How do we connect all this high-level threat intelligence back to what you can actually do about it?
Well, the crucial point is this. Security isn't a product you can just buy or a switch you can just flip on. It's a continuous process. So in this constant digital arms race, how do you stay ahead and keep yourself protected?
Well, this report really boils it down to three crucial things. First, and I cannot stress this enough, update your software. Almost every single vulnerability we talked about is fixed with a simple update. It is the single most effective thing you can do. Second, layer your defenses. We saw how something as simple as an IP whitelist can be bypassed. Don't rely on one thing. Use firewalls, use strong authentication, add layers. And finally, verify your tool permissions, especially with these new AI tools. Understand what they are allowed to do on your system. Sometimes that simple awareness is your absolute best defense.